Welcome to this Defense Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into some high-stakes Pentagon procurement intel regarding the ES-37B electronic attack aircraft. The electromagnetic spectrum is absolutely the modern frontline, and this newly released data signals a massive expansion of one of the most highly specialized platforms in the sky.
Here is our roadmap for today. We'll look at the EA-37B program expansion, dive into its electromagnetic warfare capabilities, break down the projected budget and costs, check out the delivery schedule through 2031, and wrap up with that strategic US-Italy collaboration. Let's get to it.
Starting right at the top with Section 1, the EA-37B program expansion. All right, so think about this number for a second. $2.9 billion. That is Washington's massive fiscal year 2027 budget request to seriously beef up their electronic attack fleet. For those of you tracking Pentagon spending, you know a multi-billion-dollar injection like this isn't just routine maintenance, right? It's a profound strategic pivot. It highlights an urgent recognition that electronic warfare capacity has to be drastically scaled up to meet modern global threats.
And here is the ultimate strategic goal, raising the total Compass Call fleet to an eventual 22 aircraft. Currently, L3Harris is already on contract to provide 10 of these jets, with 5 actually already delivered and flying. But clearly, 10 just isn't enough anymore. The new plan pushes the boundary, effectively doubling the expected footprint to ensure a much wider, more persistent blanket of electronic dominance across various global theaters.
We actually have direct confirmation on this from Air Force Secretary Troy Mink, who explicitly verified to Congress the intent to drastically scale up this electronic attack capability. When the Air Force Secretary puts it in written testimony, you know it elevates this from just a speculative defense industry rumor to a concrete, budgeted priority awaiting congressional approval. Moving on to Section 2, let's talk about the actual electromagnetic warfare capabilities.
Because remember, the EA-37B isn't out there dropping traditional munitions. Its weapon is the electromagnetic spectrum. It utilizes a long-range, full-spectrum standoff signals jamming suite. BAE Systems provides this cutting-edge mission package, and L3Harris serves as the critical systems integrator, doing the incredibly complex work of marrying that technology to the physical airframe.
So, what is in its crosshairs? The EA-37B is specifically designed to precisely disrupt enemy air defenses, sever communications, and totally blind command and control networks. Think about what that does in a battle space. By jamming enemy air defenses, it paves a safe corridor for friendly strike aircraft. By neutralizing communications, navigation, and intel gathering, it essentially blinds and deafens an adversary. It turns a coordinated enemy force into isolated, confused units. That is the incredible power of full-spectrum electromagnetic warfare. And for the defense experts out there, you'll immediately note the critical shift in platform architecture here. We're transitioning from the legacy EC-130H, which relied on that older, much heavier Lockheed Martin C-130H transport airframe, to the sleek, modernized Gulfstream G550 business jet. This is a massive leap forward. A modern business jet flies faster, reaches much higher altitudes, and offers a way more efficient, sustainable operating profile than a bulky tactical transport plane. Let's turn to Section 3 and break down the projected budget and costs. Looking at the FY 2027 request, each of the 12 additional jets carries an estimated unit cost of $240 million. For defense analysts, this unit cost is incredibly telling. A $240 million price tag per aircraft just underscores how densely packed these Gulfstream jets are, with classified top-tier BAE Systems sensors and jammers. The airframe itself is just the delivery vehicle. The true value is that immensely complex electronic warfare suite crammed inside. Jason Lambert, the L3Harris president of Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance, emphasizes the immediate growth of their order backlog and the ongoing positioning for new contracts. He points out signals for additional aircraft extending into 2027 and 2028. Now, this presents a really fascinating logistical challenge. L3Harris and BAE Systems must now rapidly scale up their specialized integration and production lines to meet a sustained multi-year demand signal from the Pentagon.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 4, the delivery schedule from 2026 to 2031.
Because you can't just buy 12 specialized electronic warfare jets overnight. Expanding a fleet size so drastically requires careful logistics. The expansion requires a systematic pace starting with 2 jets in 2026, peaking at 3 in 2027, leveling off at 2 annually through 2030, and concluding with 1 in 2031.
You have to pace these deliveries over a 6-year period to match the military's actual ability to train new crews, establish maintenance protocols, and integrate them into active squadrons.
When you look at the total breakdown, this new batch of 12 jets will ultimately more than double the existing fleet of 10 aircraft already under contract. It's one thing to just hear the numbers, but thinking about the proportion really drives home the scale of the expansion. More than half of the future Compass Call fleet relies entirely on this specific FY 2027 budget request getting approved and executed.
Finally, let's look at Section 5, the U.S.-Italy Strategic Collaboration.
The EA-37B also offers some immense operational benefits for international cooperation. In 2025, Italy actually signed a contract to modify 2 of their own G55s for combat use. Because both the US and Italy align on this identical electronic attack architecture, it vastly strengthens their strategic collaboration. It means they can share tactics, streamline maintenance, and operate seamlessly together within NATO frameworks. When allied nations fly the exact same specialized platforms, joint operations just become exponentially more effective.
And remember, these aren't just theoretical jets sitting on a drawing board somewhere. 5 have already been delivered to the U.S. Air Force, and they are out there flying on active duty right now. In fact, their first operational appearance in Europe earlier this year sends a very clear signal about where these electromagnetic warfare capabilities are currently being prioritized.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with something to really think about regarding the immense strategic ripple effects of this procurement. We've talked about the $2.9 billion price tag, the huge transition to the sleek G550 airframe, and that strategic alignment with allies like Italy. When you take all of these data points together, you really have to ask, how will an adversary adapt when faced with a doubled fleet of the most advanced signals jamming aircraft in the world? It's a massive question, and it's one that will define defense strategies for the next decade. If you found this structured intelligence briefing valuable, please be sure to subscribe to the Air Flight Space channel. We are completely dedicated to breaking down the data, the budgets, and the tech to bring you more in-depth defense and aviation explainers just like this one. Thanks so much for learning with us today, and I'll see you in the next explainer.